That leftover Halloween candy still lingering in your house? I know it is in mine.
Yep. And now is a good time to discuss National Diabetes Month. And while candy and other treats don't cause diabetes, they could contribute to increases in weight and blood sugar.
So here to talk about 3 helpful tips to prevent and manage diabetes is registered dietitian Lisa Andrews of Soundbites Nutrition.
Good morning,
Always great to see you, Lisa.
Happy Monday. Nice
good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Yes. So I guess I could ask, how have you been?
How have I been?
I know you love a good food pun.
I've been very well, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
So what are some small steps that we can take to sort of decrease our risk for diabetes?
Yeah, so speaking of steps, one of the best things you can do is walk, and so I brought my really beat up walking shoes.
Oh, yeah. Well worn.
Well worn. Just 2 minutes walking after you eat helps to lower your blood sugar. So it doesn't have to be like this huge walk in the woods or, you know, this great hike or anything. Just like a couple of minutes after meals helps to reduce your blood sugar.
2 minutes, that's it.
2 minutes. Yeah. I mean, obviously do more than that, but taking these little, what we call exercise snacks during the day help to lower your blood sugar. So that's one step, if you will.
All right, that sounds good.
What else do we have here? Let's see.
So lower carb foods, particularly vegetables, because they're lower in carbohydrate. So carbohydrate changes to sugar, and then that sugar rises in your blood, and when you have diabetes or prediabetes, your insulin isn't as sensitive to help lower it. So we don't want to go completely low carb, but low carb things would be vegetables, dairy products like unsweetened Greek yogurt, string cheese. Those are all low carb. Nuts, olives, peanut butter, those types of things also are helpful.
And you mentioned like sort of having like those little snacks throughout the day sort of thing. How important is that? And what do you recommend for
Well,
those?
you know, to be honest, your blood sugar is probably better with like just 3 decent meals that are spread out sort of between like 4 to 6 hours a day versus snacking all the time.
Yeah.
And be sure to include higher fiber foods because studies show things like breakfast cereal that's high in fiber, oatmeal. And I would get like straight up rolled oats versus the packet. Little guess, I'm going to quiz you. How much sugar do you think is in here?
Ooh.
A ton. I'd say there's a lot.
Well, now wait a minute. Now which one? And this is the
just,
actual cinnamon.
like cinnamon sugar.
More than you think, right?
More than you think. So there's 3 teaspoons of added sugar in here.
Oh wow! Already.
And that's a lot. So you know, you can sweeten your oatmeal with, you know, a little teaspoon of honey or something, but this takes like 2 minutes in the microwave.
Wow.
And that's heart healthy as well.
And it's heart healthy as well, and that's important because really the biggest risk factor for people with diabetes is heart disease.
It's all kind of tied together.
It's all tied together, yeah. So, you know, if you do have carbs, add some protein with it. Like have an apple with some peanut butter or, you know, string cheese with whole grain crackers. That helps to slow the rise of blood sugar.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you don't get these big spikes like, oh, if I'd eaten a bag of Skittles now, it's way up.
Right.
And I just know from family history, it's important to know your number.
Yeah.
And you've got to know your number, right?
Yeah, so your number should be below 100 if you're fasting. If you're non-fasting, it should be below 126. So like you've eaten lunch, you go get your sugar and it's 110, that's okay. You wake up in the morning and you check it and it's 120, that's a little too high if you haven't had anything to eat for a while. Yeah.
So if somebody is living with diabetes then, what are some ways that they can manage that with their diet?
Well, as I mentioned before, consistent meals are important. So, you know, they don't have to be at the exact same time every day, but roughly about the same time so your body kind of gets in this rhythm. Again, high fiber foods include some beans, whole grains, you know, switch from white pasta to whole wheat pasta, white rice to brown rice. Those types of things are beneficial. You know, make half of your plate veggies because they're low in carbs.
I've heard that, yep.
And if you are going to have a sweet, have it like immediately after you eat versus in between your meals. That's actually better for your blood sugar than having like a cookie in the middle of the afternoon.
Well, and when you mentioned fasting, I mean, you're not necessarily saying don't eat. It's just like certain windows of time.
I would say try to, you know, space your meals out about every 4 to 6 hours.
Okay.
Intermittent fasting has been helpful for people with elevated blood sugar, so my best advice is just stop eating after dinner if you can. And then, you know, in the morning, get up, have breakfast, and move on.
This is all great advice as we come into the Thanksgiving Day holiday.
Oh, yeah. Good times.
Yes. Very good advice.
I love Thanksgiving. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I love it too. Yeah. Maybe a little too much sometimes. But,
yeah. Well, Lisa, if people want to learn more about Soundbites Nutrition or get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Website, www.soundbitesnutrition.com or Instagram and Twitter @NutriGirl.
All right, Lisa, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Indeed, anytime.